Hi guys, today I'm going to show you the chalk paint layering technique to create texture and an amazing finish on your pieces. I decided not to sand down the old clear coat that was on this piece because it was all cracked, and normally I would sand that down, but I decided for the look of this piece I wanted to use that to create texture. Isn't that cool? Look how cracked it is. I'm going to paint over it with my first paint layer, and I make my own chalk paint, so it's a little watery already, so I'm just dry brushing. I'm not misting as you normally do with chalk paint. I am using a charcoal, or it's kind of an off black, to create this textured look. Isn't that beautiful? And once the off black was dried, I started with my second color, which is Bear's Weathered White, and I really like the contrast of the white over the darker undercolor. Look how beautiful the texture is coming through with that cracked clear coat. I love the effect of paint layering. I'm going to talk about that throughout this video, how you can really create amazing results through different layers of paint. Isn't this just gorgeous? I'm just dry brushing with a little bit of paint on my brush. I haven't even re-wet my brush yet. I just keep going over back and forth lightly, making sure to leave some of the black and the brown from the wood exposed. It's really looking cool. It's all going to come together. Some parts might look ugly duckling before we get to the swan, but that is part of the artistic process. So I'll give you a glance of what this table is starting to look like. So I like the texture, and some parts are darker and some parts are lighter, but that's okay. We're going to add several layers of paint. It's all going to work out. So guys, I just want to be real with you in showing you mistakes that happen when you're doing furniture renovations. It's just part of the process. Here I was trying to decoupage a print on the top of this table, and I made several mistakes. I hadn't decoupaged in a while. I had done it before and it came out right, and I guess I didn't plan well enough. Well, I think the paper maybe wasn't the right thickness. I think it was too thick, and I should have thinned it out beforehand and perhaps used a different transfer medium. So I will do another tutorial in the future of the right way to do it. But either way, I am going to work with my mistake, because in art there are no mistakes. You just keep going and make something even more beautiful out of it. In regards to this image, as you can see here, I got off all the paper and the glue, and I am left with this kind of distressed, aged aesthetic with some colors. Even though it will become less vivid when it dries, I still think it's going to look beautiful using this as a backdrop. So now I'm going to continue with my paint layering effect with this red color that I had of leftover paint. And I'm just blotching it on sporadically and kind of thick, so it creates a little bit of an elevated texture look. I'm not worried too much about the aesthetic here. It's going to get much prettier as we go and as the layers come together. For a fun touch, I decided to do some stencil work on the bottom shelf. So I'm basically spray painting with some random shaped stencils that I have. I'm using bronze paint or copper paint here, and I'm not really worried about the symmetry or the aesthetics because it's just going to go under layers of paint. It's just really a fun touch underneath that will barely be visible. Here I'm using silver paint with some letters, just random letters, just to create a little bit of an artistic effect. There I put a $, and now for some reason I just put a W there. And I'm only doing it on the bottom shelf, just a little funky detail here. And now for the next color, I chose Annabelle Blue by Dixie Belle because I thought that this rich teal would contrast so beautifully with the red. And it is just really making almost like a patina effect. It is beautiful with the texture that it's bringing out. I'm using it to also kind of outline the image a little bit. And then I come back over where I just painted with my paper towel to just thin it out a little, because I do want to keep some of the red coming through and the other layers of color. But Look at this amazing texture that comes through by paint layering. I can't stress it enough. This technique is just gorgeous. If you add lots of layers of paint, it just makes everything so multidimensional and rich in color and depth. Beautiful. The beauty about this technique is that you can pick your own colors for your own palette in your home, or whether you're working on a piece you want to sell. You can really just customize it to the color palette of choice. Now on the bottom shelf where I had stenciled, I'm also applying some of the paint, but I am thinning it out by either using paper towel or misting a little bit with water and then dabbing with my paper towel. And now I am coming up to my second to last color, which is Bear's Boreal Green. And things are really starting to get amazing now. This green is going over the teal in parts and the red, and then remember you have your black and your white undertones. For this layer, I thought I'd use a big circular chalk paint brush and dry brushing in circular motions all over the piece. And it really is pulling everything together nicely. I only use a little bit of paint on my brush, and look at the magic that starts to happen on these legs. With all the rich colors underneath, I just love this antique, aged, textured appeal that this technique starts producing. It's almost, like I mentioned before, like a patina effect. Everything's starting to come together beautifully. Just look at this texture here. Isn't that gorgeous? And we have finally made it to our last paint layer. I'm using weathered white again, and it is all worth it, all these layers of paint, because look at the amazing results that you get. Look at this texture, this depth, all the beautiful character coming out. It really creates just an amazing finish on your pieces, something that you can't achieve with one layer of paint. I just love this look. I love anything with rich texture and detail, and it looks beautiful with the distress image on the top. This is really a foolproof technique. You can really create your own art by doing this paint layering. I am using now charcoal black wax to give a final detail to the top of this piece. It is going to really make this decoupage print pop and also antique it a little, which is because you can really use dark waxes to add some age and character and depth. And I'm just dabbing up and down with my paper towel all around the perimeter of this print. I also later apply some of the dark wax sporadically to the piece, and then you can seal in the end with a clear coat or a clear wax. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Be sure to subscribe for some more fun projects I have coming up.